Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
Hello and welcome to Center Stage. I'm one of your hosts, Alistair King and Daniels, and with me, as ever,
is Peter Bates, and we're joined today by Estelle.
Terblanche.
And we're joined today by Estelle Terblanche, a local actor, screenwriter, writer, author, and all kinds of wonderful things. So Estelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let's dive right in then, shall we? Who is Estelle?
Well, I am a Cape Town-based actor, as you have said. I create my own work. I do a lot of other jobs to make money. And I try and dabble in writing. Basically, just whatever it takes to get the work out there and to act.
As we all do. We're both actors. You're an actor. I studied. Did you study?
I did. I studied at Stellenbosch University.
Oh, Stellies.
Stellies. I'm Afrikaans, actually.
Don't let the accent fool you.
What accent?
What was Stellies drama like? Because I know I studied at Rhodes, and they were quite physical theatre based and performance art. Was it like that in Stellies?
It's very interesting that you say that because I majored in physical theatre. But
oh, yes.
It wasn't the main focus of the drama department. Basically, you do 2 years and then you choose two different branches. You can choose acting, physical theatre, cabaret. It was radio back then. Oh. I'm not sure what they are now. I think there's writing, directing has been added. I did acting and physical theatre, and then you choose your major in the middle of the year, and I continued with physical.
Oh, okay. So we are relatively the same. We did 2 years of everything, and then in the third year, we could choose two, but then we stuck with the two. We didn't just go to one. It was okay. So, having done that, we've had this conversation before with other people. Having done that, do you think it's absolutely necessary to be educated in acting and in the theatre to be a good theatre and actor person?
I think that it's necessary to do some form of training. It's necessary to put in the work to get a background, and you can't just pitch up and suddenly start playing an instrument.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how the chords work, and basically we as actors are playing an instrument. We have to develop our skills, our bodies, our voices, our understanding of script, our understanding of the nuances. We have to look at how we bring our own experience into the work we do. And you can't just do that without any training or any form of work every time. You could get lucky and do it once. But you're not going to be able to repeat it every night on stage or every take that the camera does in a different angle. You're going to be all over the place. So you need to do training to be consistent.
Yeah. I suppose you need a sort of base to...
It's a skill set that you work on and that you build up. That being said, you don't necessarily have to go to a university to do that. You could take private classes through your life. You could do, go to a college, go to different one-on-one sessions with someone in Cape Town that gives film acting classes. There's a variety of ways to get there. You could get lucky and just start booking small roles and work your way up. And if you work hard and you assimilate what you learn on set or on stage, then you will get better and better and better and grow and get bigger roles. So you can build your skills through experience as well, but you have to be open to learning.
Yeah, I think that's the key word, being open to learning. Because I would say even in the level of a high school knowledge of drama is all you really need to become a successful actor. And then as you go, you'll learn through experience. You're definitely learning, but I'm not entirely sure, you don't need a lot of people. You get these people that are very, very steadfast on the idea that you need to be university educated in theatre to be successful, and you need to know all these things, where
I think things are much more fluid nowadays. I mean, a lot of actors will never even work on stage. A lot of actors will work on camera for most of their careers, even all of their careers. So they don't have to spend 3 years learning about the method or Stanislavski or whichever one it is, but they have to find a way for themselves to access those emotions and to access their experiences and bring it into a character and do it safely without also placing themselves in a place where they are accessing things that haven't been processed yet and that can lead to emotional problems in their own lives. So I don't think that having traditional stage training is necessarily adapted to our modern industry.
That's interesting. So moving away from education, you're based in Cape Town.
I am.
Do you love Cape Town?
I love Cape Town. Who doesn't love Cape Town? You have the sea, you have the mountain, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And
Waiting for me to go on.
Spread some knowledge. I was just going to say, Cape Town has such a rich, in my opinion, theatre sort of, what's the word, Peter?
Scene.
No, but more than scene, culture, I would say. There's so many little theatres everywhere. And I just thought I wanted to know what's your experience of Cape Town theatre?
That's very interesting. I actually find that we have very few theatres.
Elaborate.
I mean, we have the Artscape and the Baxter, which are the big established theatres, and they have been expanding on their independent theatre. They've opened up their smaller spaces where you can go and take new work and
The Masambe.
We did halfway in.
Yeah.
The Masambe is great, yes. It's opening up the space for new actors and new writers to come in and show what they can do. It is still in development. It's still finding its footing. It's still finding its audiences. Artscape also has a smaller black box space that people use.
I didn't even know that.
It's off the side.
Is it called the Black Box?
No, it's called...
Literally
It just
stage
is.
black
It
box,
is a
yeah.
black box in terms of no curtains, no wings. But I think that apart from that, you have the Alexander Bar, obviously.
A few God.
The Fugard, but the Fugard you can't enter with anything that they don't produce themselves. You have an observatory. You have the what's it called? Theatre.
There's the Armchair Theatre, I know, which is very small.
I don't even know that one.
There's a little armchair theatre. I think it's mostly for comedians and stuff, because it's so small. It's called the Armchair. A lot of improv acting groups go there.
Okay. But yeah, that's a very specific venue. Then you have the Theatre Arts Admin Collective.
Oh, yes. We were there once, yeah.
And then further than that, you have Camps Bay. On that side, you have the Bay Theatre. But once again, like the Fugard,
they produce their own shows.
They produce their own shows. You don't get in there with other work. So then you have to start going outside of Cape Town itself. And a very nice little theatre is in Somerset West called the Drama Factory. Yeah. They are very supportive of new work. And then there's a lot of small little theatres that we don't even really know about. There's one apparently in Ribia Castile. There's Darling, obviously. Mm-hmm. There's small little places, but people aren't aware of it.
Yeah, that's the issue. Because up until like last year, I didn't know half of these theaters.
Yes.
I'm only saying that I think there's a theater culture now, knowing this knowledge. So I suppose it's more about...
The question is it a theatre culture or is it just the structure for a theatre culture?
The structure for theatre culture. That's
Because if there aren't audiences that know and support the theatres, whether they're there or not, it doesn't mean there's a culture.
I suppose I'm speaking from someone who's like in it. Like I have all these people on Facebook and I just see like play and like...
The things are happening, but are the general public involved in that process, right? Are they aware of it? What about community theatres, the Milnerton Playhouse, the Mass Theatre? What role do you think that they play in the theatre landscape? There's one. The theatre of Cape Town, you know?
I think it's an important role to have other people involved that aren't necessarily professionals and create work and build a love for theatre. But what isn't happening at the moment is there isn't a link between community theatre and professional theatre. It isn't. It's clear. It's either the one or the other. You don't really get that people go, okay, here's this wonderful community theatre, and now let's bring in a professional production, and we have a ready audience for you, and then maybe in return the professionals come and do some classes for the community theatre or something, some kind of exchange so that we can create that networking process.
Yes.
Because a lot of people will support community theatre, but not professional theatre.
Which is like sad because yes, community theatre, you get like a little budget and you get nice sets and you do like the nice plays, like they're often quite meaty plays and they get such a wonderful audience, but then you try and bring your own, you try and just put on your own show and then...
Part of it is that people want to see their own people on stage. They want to see their family, their friends. So they're going to buy a ticket to see when their cousin is on stage at the Mask Theatre, say. They're going to go and watch that, but they don't know the actor doing whatever show it is at the Alexander Bar. They're not going to drive through from wherever they live to come and support someone, especially when the economy is bad.
Yeah, but that is the role of community theatre. It's people in the community and of the community, right? But I enjoy that point of, more integration. And I think it's a symptom of the fractured theatre scene in Cape Town. We've got all these bits. I mean, you and I, we've just learned things from each other now, talking about little theatres and what's happening that we don't necessarily know. And we're all involved in the industry, So it's almost symptomatic of it, really.
I started off this podcast going, there's a wonderful culture of theatre in Cape Town.
But there
gone
is.
to a fractured structure.
There is, but it's not very integrated, I don't think. Well,
I think there's great things happening. I think there's exciting theatre being produced. I think when you go and see the theatre in Cape Town, it's of a very high standard. And there's a culture at the moment, and it hasn't been like that since I started in the industry. It's developed where people are going, I just need to make work. I just need to tell my story, and I just want to get all the different perspectives on stage, not just one point of view, all the different points of view, so that people can see all these different takes on what's happening. And great work being produced. The problem is you can produce all the work you want, but you need audiences to see it. You can't play you can play to an empty auditorium, but it doesn't really have an effect.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying about the theatre culture is the creative culture. Yes, there's a really interesting, vibrant community of theatre makers at this point in Cape Town. But what we're talking about the fractured theatre is how is that being translated to what people see and what people think of Cape Town theatre? Because if you ask most people in Cape Town, they won't be able to name you a theatre except for Artscape and Baxter.
That's interesting. True. So you're I think, I would say that there's perhaps a lack of theatre literacy in Cape Town. I work at a high school, and a lot of the learners that I teach have never, I teach Shakespeare as part of the English curriculum, and a lot of learners that I teach have never ever been to theatre in their lives. So, I mean, you try to teach a play in a classroom, but they don't know what a play is like sitting in the auditorium. I mean, a couple of years ago, we actually took some kids through to the Masambe Theatre, and they were showing Woza Albert.
Oh, wow.
Which is fantastic.
Yes.
And the bus driver had never been in live theatre his entire life. And his first experience was Woza Albert. Which was, I mean, I'm sure he came out of there a changed person. I mean, he was just enlightened by this experience. And I think theatre has that magical power, but is that reaching the people in Cape Town?
Yes. Saying that a play is not written to be read. Mm-hmm. You read it,
to be performed, yeah.
You read it once. And then you read it aloud. Mm-hmm. You read it once just to get the structure, and then you start saying it. It's written to be heard and to be spoken. And sitting in the classroom reading it quietly to yourself is never going to understand the play, let alone like it.
Mm. Speaking of writing.
Yes.
Lovely segue. You write.
I do write.
You've not just written, you've been performing for a while.
Hashtag Actors Life.
Yes. And I didn't know you obviously before a few years ago. Have you written any other plays?
None that have been performed.
Life.
I wrote a few plays, but I didn't study writing. As we spoke, I studied acting, so I've always written throughout my life, but I've never gotten any formal training. So my confidence in my own writing was never that great. So I would write a play and then kind of send it off to some friends, get some feedback. One of my plays I ended up turning into a short film it was more of an entry for film school than a real short film. And then I kept writing until this one, friends just came back and said, this is the one, you need to do this play. So that was in 2016. I rewrote it a couple of times, did it in 2017 as a preview run at the Alexander Bar, just 3 shows, and then rewrote it again. I think it's probably on rewrite number 10. And currently it's directed by Tamron Spears, and it's really just transformed. It's grown. The thing is, when you write, you have to trust that at some point you need to trust that the project will develop in the way it's going to develop. And you also have to trust that it's done. I think it is done now. I think. You don't know. If we end up performing this, you don't know how long you're going to perform it. It might perform for a couple of years, and somewhere along the line it might require another tweak here and there. But I do think the general feel of it is there now. But you have to trust sometimes that when you start rehearsing, things will come. You have to be willing to take those notes and still make those changes.
Yeah, it's a living being, once it's performed, once it's rehearsed or whatever, things start to change.
I say it's my child and people laugh, but it's a child. It has its mind, its own mind. It really does decide what it wants to do. And specifically with Actors Life, the lead character, Ad Christine, the actor, has also become a real person. She's taken on a life of her own. She has her own social media. She's a very unique individual. So you're dealing with these different energies, and you have to honor the work. You have to honor the writing and the story and the character. So I would say that when I write very much intuitively initially. I don't, depending on the project, I don't always even sit down beforehand and do a structural outline. That I will do later. So by this point, I've broken it down into 3 acts. I know exactly where the climax is, where every moment of the play has been broken down, and it does fit structurally. But it wasn't something I thought about when I sat down and wrote the first draft. So yeah, I write and then I develop and I rewrite and I fine tune.
I find when I'm writing that I can't not have I need to have like a point by point structure of the whole play.
Oh, everyone works
writing.
differently. I think the thing is because I'm OCD, slightly OCD. So if I start doing that, then I try and perfect the structure beforehand, and then I lose the flow of the creative work. Where if I just sit down and write, and I just go, I finished my first screenplay now. And the advice I was given was just get 100 pages. Just get 100 pages of words. And you can go back and change once there's something to work with. But that idea of getting something down on the page is so terrifying. And then you try and make it perfect as you go along, you're never going to finish it. So for me, I can't get into the nitty-gritty. I do character breakdowns. I get the character's story. I get circumstances. I have an idea of what happened before and what's going to happen after the play or film or whatever it is finishes. So I have the circumstances, I have the character bibles, but I don't do a structural analysis of exactly what happens in the middle.
Okay. I see.
The title, #ActorsLife, and the character @Christine, that's interesting. So what's the premise of the play? How does these, it's kind of like adopting these social media handles. How does that work?
It actually came about later in the process. It was during our first rehearsal process for the 2017 run. I think I saw a post, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was someone going on set, winning at life, perfect life, actors, #ActorsLife. And I went, oh my goodness. That's the #ActorsLife that you're putting out there for people to see. And the play at that point was it's about Christine's journey. It's, she is in a relationship, not going so well. She's an actor and career's in a slump, trying to find her own voice, trying to redefine why she's became an actor in the first place in the midst of all this chaos, and just basically a day in her life. And it's not the best day in her life, it's not the worst day in her life, it's just a kind of normal day in your life where you get stuck in traffic, you're running a bit late, you try and do your warm-ups, but there isn't really space for you to do it. So where do you go and be private and get into the character before your audition? Has an audition, everything goes wrong in it. It's just a day in her life, and what she questions and the small steps that she takes towards finding her own voice. And then what happened was the juxtaposition of that to the #ActorsLife that's really presented on social media. I actually had a very interesting thing happen where 2 of my shows were cancelled, and Christine, the actor, on social media announced that she was disappointed and that she's very sad that her show got cancelled, but that she'll pull herself together. Her producer's giving her a pep talk. You create this whole journey, and got a backlash from that. Not a backlash like really intensely, but quite a few people going, why are you so upset? Why are you putting all this out on social media? This happens to everyone. And I went, but that's the point. It happens to everyone. Why do we have to hide it? Why can't we as actors say, I'm passionate about acting. If my show gets cancelled, I'm upset. I'll get over it. That's reality. I know that. I'm not going to go and slit my wrists. But why can't we on social media say, you know what? I had a bad day today. #ActorsLife. Yeah, that's where it came from.
Fascinating. I love that, really. Almost like not really a criticism, but kind of looking at this idea of social media from a different angle. And in fact, reality and what's over there are 2 different things, right?
Yes, and what was interesting was the people that did contact me had not seen the play. I'd love to have them see the play first, see what Christine is really about, because she's a mess. She really is the quintessential insecure woman. My director said this, and it's true. She really isn't all together, and she falls apart. So you can't have a social media account for someone that just blurts out whatever comes into her head and edit it to take out all of the negative stuff.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We've reached our time.
If we want to see hashtag Actors Life, where can we see it?
Oh, gosh, this is going to be in...
Probably around August. So are you going to be putting it on further along the line?
Yes. I don't know where yet. So you can go on Facebook or on Instagram at Christine the Actor, both of those, and follow, and I will put the events up there. You can also email christinetheactor@gmail.com, and I will add you to our subscribers list.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and chatting on our episode.
I'm very honored.
It's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for coming through. And yeah, I look forward to seeing hashtag Actors Life. Sounds like a fantastic play.
Thank you. I hope it will be showing a lot next year.
So do I.
All over the place.
All over the place. In all those theatres we spoke of.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, and thank you for listeners for joining us on our inaugural podcast here at Blended Audio. And Alistair, good, yeah. I ran out of steam there, I don't know what I'm saying.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
King Media Productions Centre Stage is a South African film and theatre podcast hosted by Alistair King and Daniels and Peter Bates and produced with the generous assistance of Blended Podcasts, brought to you by Blended Audio.